Welcome to the Smithtown League of Women Voters Meet the Candidates event. The Smithtown Library's budget vote and trustee election for the 2024 operating year will be held on Tuesday, October 10th. The polls open at 9:30 a.m. and close at 9 p.m. The Smithtown Library Board of Trustees will have 4 seats of a 7-seat board up for election this year. 2 seats will possess the standard 3-year term, commencing on January 1st, 2024, and ending December 31st, 2026. 2 seats are currently being served by interim appointees due to the resignations of previously elected trustees. Therefore, the candidates who are elected to these 2 seats will serve the remainder of those terms, October 11th, 2023 through December 31st, 2024. Currently, the 4 seats are held by Anita Dow Neufeld, Barbara Deal, Brianna Baker-Steins, and Thomas Maher. Per the statute that governs the Smithtown Special Library District, no vacancy on the board is considered to be a separate, specific office. Therefore, the number of votes a candidate garners will determine the length of his or her term. The highest 2 receivers of votes will serve the standard 3-year terms. The 3rd and 4th highest receivers of votes will serve from October 11th, 2023 through December 31st, 2024. Please visit the Smithtown Library's website, smithlib.org, for details regarding the trustee election and the budget vote. Commercial. The monthly newsletter has all the information you need in it, so I encourage all the people watching to pick up a copy or look at it on the website. Tonight's event is being managed by the League of Women Voters, a nonpartisan nonprofit organization that encourages the informed and active participation of citizens in government. My name is Lisa Scott, and I'm the president of the League of Women Voters of Suffolk County. I've had no contact with any of the 8 candidates, nor have I read or received any articles or material regarding any candidate. As moderator, I have the responsibility to be the decision maker on all matters related to the event tonight. The League has a long history of organizing and moderating candidate forums and events nationally and locally. Nonpartisan candidate events serve an important role in elections and are a longstanding American tradition. We hope that tonight's event will allow Smithtown voters to become more familiar with the issues and the candidates, so you, the voters, can make an informed choice on October 10th. Before I review tonight's guidelines and procedure, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to
the flag
of the United States of America
and
and to the republic
which
which stands
one
one nation under God,
indivisible,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All 8 candidates were contacted and advised last week to pick up a packet at the library, which contained a cover letter, 2 copies of the guidelines, and a page with a link for a test Zoom to check technical connectivity, as well as their link for tonight's event. Candidates were asked to sign 1 copy of the guidelines and return that to the library to acknowledge their receipt. All 8 candidates have done so. The participants in this event are the 8 candidates, the moderator, the timer, and 1 technical support person. Friends, family, and voters will be able to view the event via the Smithtown Library website until October 10th. The candidates were advised that they each will have 2 minutes for an opening statement and 2 minutes for a closing statement. We have received questions from the Smithtown community in advance of this event. I've reviewed them, organized them by subject, and in many cases combined similar questions so that we're able to cover more topics. Candidates will be asked the questions in a rotating order, and each will have 1.5 minutes to answer the same question before I move on to the next question. Questions cannot be addressed to an individual candidate. Derogatory, targeted, or questions on personnel matters are not permitted. Our League of Women Voters timer has drawn lots while the candidates were present on Zoom before the start of the public streaming of the event, so that we have a random order in which the candidates will speak. During the event, a countdown clock will be visible on screen, indicating how much time the candidate has left to speak. The timer will ring a bell when the time is up. Candidates may finish a short sentence, but then must stop speaking. Candidates, please remember that this event is to educate voters about why you should be elected. Again, derogatory or personal attacks on other candidates are prohibited throughout the entire program. The candidates may refer to or take notes, but cannot use any electronic devices, including phones or watches. And please silence all your devices as we begin the event. So let's begin with our first opening statement, which again is 2 minutes. That first person, having drawn lot number 1, is Miss Virgil.
Hello, my name is Vanessa Avergel. I am a 20-year community active Smithtown resident and library patron. I have 3 children, teens now, born and raised in Smithtown. My education and training is in accounting, finance. I'm currently a director for a travel and transportation social network company. My volunteer work in Smithtown is diverse. I was treasurer of Girl Scout Service Unit, overseeing 40 troops, treasurer for a Mother Center, community service liaison for Cub Scouts, and webmaster for Boy Scouts, and a number of other volunteer positions, gardening for Sweetbriar. I'm interested in being trustee, number one, to give back to the community, but also to be a voice for the vulnerable. And the vulnerable, in my opinion, is the 12 and under crowd. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, Ms. Deal, you get 2 minutes, and you ready, timers on that? Okay.
Good evening, I'm Barbara Deal, and I live in Smithtown since 2013. In February of 2023, I was honored to be appointed as library trustee. Since then, I have attended every regular and special meeting. I take this role very seriously and come prepared to discuss and vote on all agenda items with the best interest of the Smithtown Library District and the community. I'm a member of the Friends of the Smithtown Library, and I've attended every meeting since January of 2023. I also volunteered at the Friends Spring Book Sale. I'm running for Smithtown Library Board of Trustees because I love the Smithtown Library District. I grew up in Hauppauge and did not have a library. So growing up, I spent many hours of my childhood in the Smithtown Main Library and have very fond memories there. Since July 22, I have attended every regular and special meeting. It was an honor to be appointed trustee in February of this year. I would like to continue the work the trustees have been doing to support the library and the community. I have a bachelor's of English from SUNY Stony Brook, and I have a master's of special ed from Adelphi University. I have New York State English grades 9 through 12 and special education permanent certification. I also have New York State District Administrator certification. I bring 30 plus years experience in education. I've taught English and special ed in New York City and Long Island. I have been an educational sales representative for 2 major publishing companies, work with data, and currently work at NASA BOCES supporting districts with data privacy and security. I have over 20 years of board experience from Sales Association, a condo board, NASA BOCES School Library System Council. Currently, I'm vice president of my union and an appointed library trustee since February 23. I believe our libraries are for everyone and should be a safe and inclusive place for all residents.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Durso.
Okay, good evening. Thanks for the opportunity. A little background of myself. I worked in this public schools for over 30 years. I taught health and physical education. I have my degrees from Queens College at CUNY University and my Master's of Health Education from Hofstra. Prior to my teaching in the public schools, I worked for the Huntington YMCA, which later branched off into daycare centers. I was the director of the daycare centers in Glen Cove, West Hempstead, East Rockaway. My job was to open the center, find a facility, hire the people, take care of the transportation, write the budgets, so on and so forth. As far as my school experience, I've coached 4 different sports for over 30 years. I really know how the kids react to certain situations. Also, I was a union representative. I was on the executive union board, and I was in charge of health and safety. And the library, very similar to a school, we had about 6 buildings in my district, and we were responsible for safety, cleanliness, rules, regulations, policy, curriculum, so on and so forth. So I feel it's a good mix or a nice transition working for the library. The library has always been good to me. Even when I couldn't fax something, didn't know how to do it, and I would run to the library and the people would do it. Also, besides what's in the library is the people who run the library. Now, when I first got my first teaching position, a very intelligent gentleman came up to me and said, you better make friends with the custodian, and you better make friends with the people that actually run the school. That's your secretaries, your guidance counselors. So I'm a team player as far as that goes. I was also on a school district council committee, which had to do with insurance, teachers insurance, dental insurance, medical insurance, which involved the employees also. Something I forgot to mention in my bio, which I guess is important, but I did just skip my mind, is I am a published author. I wrote a book back in, it's about 10 years ago, and it was called Open the Book. And anyway, I just thought I'd put that in there. The library programs that they have.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Durso. We're going to have to ask you to stop, but please revisit again what you didn't get a chance to say in the process of the.
Thank you.
Ms. Stabile?
Good evening. My name is Teresa Stabile, and I've been a resident of the Smithtown Township since 1970. I am very interested in public service. I was a student of library science, and I learned to love the library as I was growing up here in the Smithtown Township. I was a lecture coordinator at Christ the King in Comac. I was a legislative aide for Michael DeAndre, and I also serve as a director on the Silver Chords Chorus of Smithtown. So I am a dedicated public servant, and the library is a very valid, community-orientated facility that everyone in the county deserves and should take advantage of. I want to be a library trustee because I do have 3 years experience as a trustee, and I have attended meetings since that time to keep current with the library's activities, to know where the finances are going, and also to be prepared for another to be in the library trustee position again. I appreciate all the support that I've gotten and look forward to serving the community as a trustee. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Mr. Gavia. You're muted. You're muted.
Hello, hello.
Okay.
And I would like to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this event, and also congratulate my fellow candidates for taking time out to run in this for these positions, showing that democracy really does work. My name is Hector Gavia, and I am a resident of Smithtown, New York. I am also a proud dad of 2 adult children who are very independent. And the library system has been a very important part of all of our lives, especially my entire life. I see the benefits, whether you're part of a civics a group or some type of a club where you can meet, and also as well as being able to read books that may no longer be available for sale or in circulation. It's quite a great place. And so I would be quite honored to be on the board of trustees, to be able to serve the community that has served me so well in my entire life. I'm a 53-year-old man, and I also am a real estate broker for the past 20 years and a business owner as well. So I think that experience would help in working as a board trustee to be able to help in maintaining budgets, upholding policies, and making the library a place that everyone in our community can feel welcomed and be able to participate. And also, I think it's very important for the board to allow the community to know about all the wonderful services that we can offer. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gavia. Ms. Bakersteins?
Hello. First, I want to thank the League of Women Voters as well for doing this. And thank you to the library as well and the IT department for facilitating this. My name is Brianna Bakersteins. I've been on the board for 6 years now, and I'm running for a 3rd term. I spent the last 2 years on the board as president. In the past 2 years, the board has really changed a lot, and I think I learned a lot about law, policy, and the public in the past 2 years. More than I ever have before. I graduated in 2016 with my master's in business, my MBA. I have experience in law, compliance. I also worked as finance and accounting. So I'm pretty familiar and comfortable with numbers and budgeting. I'm running because I have a passion for my community, but I also specifically have a passion for libraries. My first job was at a library. I worked as a page. I shelved books. Eventually, I worked my way up to the reference desk, and now I am happily serving on the board. The library has always been a safe space for me. I hope that I can show other members of the community how this can be a safe space, and I hope they can find safety in it as I did growing up. I want to be on the board because I want to keep the library the way it is. It's a paragon of intellectual freedom. I'm anti-censorship. I believe the library belongs to everyone, not just those who are loudest or most pushy. It belongs to our vulnerable communities as well. And libraries are a cornerstone of American culture and American freedom. And I want to keep them that way while helping them develop and evolve into the digital market as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Bakersteins. Mr. Sarvis?
Hi, how are you? My name is Christopher Sarvis. I moved to Smithtown in 2014 when my family were having our first child. We now have 3. I'm a union electrician for my daytime job, and I'm also an apprenticeship instructor in the evening. My passion is getting more youth into the skilled trades. So I do a lot of job fairs and stuff like that in schools, and utilize library system for that as well. I'd like to be part of the library trustee board to be an advocate for the library, not only its members, but also its employees. I think it's important, both sides of that. I think I bring a lot of skills that could be applied to the library, not just in my day-to-day job, but things like reason and open-mindedness and some understanding of each other. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sarvis. And Ms. Lynch.
Hi, my name is Joanne Lynch. I live in Kings Park, and I'm excited to be running as a potential member of the Smithtown Library Board of Trustees. The library is a community center that serves to educate and engage the community. I have lived here for 10 years with my husband and 3 children. One is currently a senior at the high school. That's my last one. I have worked in healthcare for 15 years, so I'm particularly equipped to engage with the community and address their needs in a positive and supportive way. I worked at South Oaks Hospital where they had certain dementia units and rehab facilities and all kinds of different facilities for different people in need. I've done a lot of community service because I want to be an active member of the high schools that my daughter's going to and the community as a whole. When my other daughter had someone that passed away, unfortunately, I helped try to bring the ribbons around and talk with all the other teachers and such. I've done pantry and all other kinds in the community. I just want to lend my time and my skills to this town wherever I can, and hope to raise more awareness to all that the library has to offer. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Lynch. So now we get to the questions. The first person now will be Ms. Deal because we're going to rotate around. I'll read the question. If you need it reread, I'll do it over. And you have a minute and a half with all the questions. Please don't go over, but if you finish your thought clearly in a minute, that's fine too. Okay. And again, I'm presuming you can all see the countdown clock, right? Okay. No, yep. Did you? I guess when you started, yeah. Because we see you, but not the clock. Okay. All right. So this is the question. And again, these are compilations of what a number of people have written in. What's been your personal relationship to the library? How often are you in the library? What programs do you attend? What innovations in the collections or buildings have you seen? So take a minute, think. And when you're ready, Ms. Steele, we can.
Repeat that one more time, thanks.
The question? Yeah.
Thanks.
What's been your personal relationship to the library? How often are you in the library? What programs do you like to attend? What innovations in the collections or buildings have you seen?
Okay. My personal relationship with the library, I guess, goes back to my childhood when I spent a lot of time in Smithtown. I just love the library. I don't know if you consider me a frequent flyer, but I do go there a lot. Some of the programs I enjoy, and I also spearheaded a night book discussion. When I first moved here in 2003, my previous library had evening book discussions. And, I worked during the day, so I couldn't go to all, there's so many book discussions during the day that, look fabulous, but I couldn't attend them. So we started on a Tuesday night very slowly. It's, now on a Thursday night, and, we get a nice crowd, and, we've become kind of a family. We meet every month. So we read a lot of books. And as a trustee, we got a tour of the Long Island room. That was, it felt almost like a celebrity scene. That room, it was very interesting to see all the old maps and old books and the records in the town. that was really, really exciting to see, because that's where I spent a lot of time, in the basement when I was a kid. So it kind of brought back a lot of memories. So that's what I would say my relationship is with the library. I've just been a lover, a reader my entire life, and still love to read novels. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Deal. Mr. Durso.
Okay, library experience. I'm going to go way back when I lived in Brooklyn and worked in a paint store on 68th Street and Fort Hamilton Parkway. There was a library right down the corner on 66th Street and Fort Hamilton Parkway. And I used to run there all the time after school, just looking up things that interest me, mostly music and arts. And then there's a long span for when I went and followed things in the library. I have 11 grandchildren right now. And I would say for the past 10 years, when grandpa is babysitting, I take the kids a lot of times to the library, even just to walk in, look at a few things, read some books, talk about what's going on, take them to the park, take them home. I have my library card, of course. And whenever I run into trouble, whenever I have to fax something or anything like that, I run to the library, and the ladies that work there are always exceptionally very nice to me. So that's my experience up to date.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. DeVille.
Hi, my experience with the library goes back a little a ways. I was also a page at the Smithtown Library main branch. And I just enjoyed being an organizer and collecting the books, putting them where they're supposed to be. And when people asked, gee, could you tell me where to find such and such? I mean, I wasn't trying to take over the librarian's job, but I could say, oh, yes, you can find that book in this particular section or in that section. So the love of the library has been there a while. I have some experience. I learned quite a bit also at the LIU library master's program, where I was a trainee as a reference librarian there and directed people to the areas of interest that they were looking at. I particularly like entertainment series at the libraries. I enjoy going to see some movies. I love any type of cooking program that they have at the libraries, and travel programs as well. It just opens the mind, and there's just it's endless knowledge that the library brings to you day in and day out. And I do try to get to the library, maybe not every day, but certainly quite a few times a month during the month.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Mr. Gavia.
Well, as I said in my opening statement, I've been going to the library my entire life, and I truly enjoy going there for many reasons. Recently, one of the big benefits, I believe, is the civic groups that exist out there. The library provides the community a really safe place for people to meet, to talk about common interest and goals and things that are concerning their neighborhood and their town. And it's an opportunity for them to get together and perhaps as a community work together towards a common goal, a common cause. Also, there are clubs that meet at the library. So I am a member of different clubs and organizations or support groups that are really beneficial, to go there. Also, my children, as they were growing up, it was great to bring them to the children's section of the library. And there were so many great activities. Besides story time, they had different activities. And it was awesome to be able to have different members of the community, families, and so on, people that we knew. It created a better bond. Additionally, the local police will hold meetings at the library. And I think that's helpful for the community to go out and meet with them. Usually they'll have them once a month at various libraries throughout Suffolk County, and I've participated in those as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Ms. Bakersteins.
Hello.
So my library card is as old as I am, specifically my Smithtown library card. I've been a lifelong resident and I've always used the library. I remember going to Smithtown library programs as a child. One program I remember is learning magic tricks at the library. I remember my sister actually brought in her pet gerbil so that she could pull it out of a hat as her trick. I also remember taking belly dancing classes, which is not something you'd expect at the library, but it was definitely a fun way to exercise. As for innovations, I think some of the great innovations that the Smithtown Library has is in the Library of Things. For example, the laser engraver that makes woodcuts. I've actually used that multiple times for gifts. I actually think it was last year when I had someone pass away, but I didn't get to say goodbye to that person. So I engraved something out of wood and brought it with me to the funeral and placed it in the casket. And it's just an example of how a small thing can really impact a life and in ways you don't expect them to. Another innovation that the Smithtown Library has is the Patent and Trademark Resource Center, and as well as the Passport Acceptance Facility. Those are two really great services that the Smithtown Library offers that are things you don't expect a library to have. But we are very lucky that the Smithtown Library offers those services. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Sarvis.
Hello. So the library has been a constant in my life for as long as I can remember. I grew up with a single mother, so the library was a no-cost outing for us. And then as a student, I used the library for my studies. And now as a parent, I am in the library weekly because my children eat up entertainment. Some of the things we love at Smithtown Library are the scavenger hunts, the wooden puzzles. We like to rent DVDs for movie nights, stuff like that. We are weekly users of the library. My wife and I were just there Saturday night for the Smithtown Underground's scary movie night. We did not stay the entire 12 hours, but we saw 2 movies that we probably wouldn't see at home. Some innovations that we like at the library definitely would start with the learning lab. These are things that we don't get to use at home, and it gives an outlet for the children to be creative. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sarvis. Ms. Lynch.
Our kids are never going to understand that when we were in school that we were reliant. Oh, I'm sorry. Is it your turn, Durso?
No.
No, it's
Okay,
yours.
how did that, okay, I don't know why your name. All right. And
Sorry.
we were reliant on the encyclopedias in the library to do our projects. So so I'd have to meet all my friends there and we'd have to get our reports done there. And then when I had kids, I would bring the kids to the library for all the great projects that they did, you know, because nothing's better than having, you know, all the messy projects done in somebody else's place. So, yeah, and then I usually tend to get books out that have like, you know, I like to do a lot of learning. So it's stuff along the lines of the latest one I took out was The Body Electric, which has to do with the concept that health is deterrent on a electrical charge that the cells put out. And I also like that the library has things like the take-home how-tos and the take-home crafts. Like I've done throw pillows, and I see that you got the sorry,
Okay.
you got the soap back and such. So
Okay, thank you.
thanks.
Okay. And Ms. Virgil.
Mhm. When my oldest was 2, we started going to the library, the Smithtown main branch, and we started with weekly library day. Let's put that on the schedule, and we still to this day have our weekly library day. My oldest, I attribute this directly to going to the library every week, is now a creative writing major. And she started reading at age 4 because of our time in the library. The programs, especially the paint night, I would go mother-daughter paint night. That's very special to us. And I currently have a first place, second place, and third place winner of the rock, paper, scissors contest in this household. That was a fun program. And I've actually brought a product to life using the 3D printing at the library. The library having something like that when it first started was actually phenomenal for a lot of people. And using that 3D printing, it was also the patent services, I was able to bring a product to life. So that's the goodness that the library's brought to me and my family.
Okay, well, thank you. A dog? We don't have a 9th candidate. Okay, the next question is actually an easy one, but I think it really gels the part we're covering now. Pretend you've traveled somewhere and you're seated next to someone who has never been to the United States. The question is, what would you tell this person you're most proud of about a library? You can use Smithtown specifically or libraries in general. And Mr. Durso, you drew the lots here first.
Okay, so I'm sitting on a plane, I'm coming into Kennedy, and somebody from another country wants to know about the library, correct?
Yeah.
All right, well, number one, this is the best country in the world. Anybody could be anything or do anything if you have the gumption and the nerve to put in the time. The library is a place where there's infinite amount of information. Digital, there's CDs, there's movies, there's many programs, and just the flyer itself that you held up has in there all the thousands and thousands of programs that have been there. Also, scholarship. That was in your, I think if you turned that thing over that you showed there, it gives scholarships to kids that are in high school. So it's even something that people that, let's say, maybe not have the money to go to college can win a scholarship through the library. So I think it's a great place.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Stabile.
I would say to somebody on a plane that the library is the place to be to learn about America. You can take out books, view videos about America, learn about the past history of America, and ask questions. The librarians and the staff are there to help you and to educate you along the way of your pursuit of learning about America. It's the best place to live in, and the library is where you go to find out about local issues, state issues, and national issues. There is no other place that is better to learn about the United States. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Gavia. You're muted.
Sorry, I keep doing that. What's wonderful about this country is that we have freedoms. And one of those freedoms is the freedom of education. And the library is a wonderful resource for every book that's ever been published in the free world. And not only can we learn about this country, which the previous candidate mentioned, which is absolutely correct, but we could learn about everything that we want from the library. And it's just wonderful because I love this country, and I love the fact that we have libraries because books are available to everybody, no matter what social status you are. Anyone coming to this country who may be an immigrant, as my mother was, she learned English, and she speaks very well by just reading book after book after book. As a child, I would see all these collection of books that my mother had collected and bought, and she learned just by reading. So if I were to meet somebody who had never been to this country and they wanted to learn English, or they wanted to learn anything on any topic, I would say, go to your local library, and it's a great place where you will feel welcome. And that's really it. It's all about America. And when we created the library system, that was probably the best, one of the best things that we could do for the people. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Baker-Steins, you're muted.
So, what I'm most proud of for the library is definitely that it's a space where anyone can go and not have the expectation of purchasing something. It's really a safe space for all. You go to Starbucks and you're kind of expected to buy a coffee, but you can go to the library and, sit there for as long as you want. And there's no expectation that you need to spend money, which is great for students and adults and people in so many different ways. Another thing I'm proud of specifically for the Smithtown Library is our staff, who has so much passion. Our staff has incredible tenure. So many of our staff members are really committed, and I know if you guys have ever been helped by them, they're extremely thorough, and they really help you get really quality information. Nowadays, you get a lot of information, but sometimes it's hard to get that quality information. If you need that, you just need to see a librarian at any of our branches, and they can definitely help you with that.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Sarvis.
So one of the things I'm most proud of with our library is definitely the freedom that it offers, not only with material, but also with time and creativity. Whether you're there for books or movies or programs, and also the innovation that has come as the library has progressed. Moving into the 21st century, it's more than just books. It's information of all kinds. It's a library of things. It's a learning lab. It's a collaborative space for all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Lynch.
I'm most proud of that the library is a community place where everyone can come together and they can take a workshop together and meet people in the town. We have a great town here, and it's nice to be able to connect to people with a wide range of programs. The library can basically be anything that you want. If you want to take on like a little bit of a crafting thing and sell some t-shirts, you can like rent a circuit. If you wanted to learn a new trade, you just go and study some books. It's got a wealth of information, and it's pretty much what you want to make of it.
Okay, thank you. And Ms. Steele.
I'm most proud of our libraries because they're for all. Every person in the United States of America has the right to read or not read what's in a library. I also absolutely think the Smithtown Library District has the most amazing, knowledgeable, and friendly staff of, well, I won't say all libraries, but they're just fabulous. I've never been in the library and had any issues. I always feel it's warm and friendly. Another great thing about the library, if we're on a plane talking to somebody, you can get your passport at the Smithtown Library. Who knew? And there's also a patent department. You can, apply for patents and get help with that. And then the Long Island Room is a great place if you're coming to America to learn all about Long Island history. And the librarians in the Long Island Room have a wealth of knowledge, and the materials they have in the vault is just incredible, and how far back the history goes. And all the 3D printers, it's just a wonderful place. All the programs that are offered for adults, teens, and children. It's a great place to get together with your community and have a lot of fun. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now on to the business side. The first person to go will be Ms. DeBeal. And this question is, describe what you understand to be the job of library trustee. How can you prepare to be one if elected? Should the trustees spend time observing and interacting with the professional staff at work?
I believe I heard most of.
I'll repeat it if you want. Do you want me to repeat it?
All right, because some of it got a little lost.
Yeah, okay. There's three parts to the question. Describe what you understand to be the job of library trustee. How can you prepare for that if elected? And should the trustees spend time observing and interacting with the professional staff at work?
Thank you.
Okay.
The library trustee position is involved with the finances of the libraries. We learn about that through the staff. That's why we need to be in touch with them, because they let us know what the patrons are most interested in, and if it's the money should be spent with books or with projects, and if something isn't working, that maybe that can be lessened and another project added onto. So yes, the interaction with the library staff is very important. That's how you learn about what the patrons are looking for. As a library trustee, I was prepared to serve on the library board based on my past experience and on serving on different committees. I was the head of the finance committee, and so I got the understanding of how the monies are distributed and how much is involved with each project. Also, by attending the meetings, keeping informed about what is current with the library is most important as well. The library board and the director, the staff have been very accurate, most concerned about what the patrons want, and been diligent, very diligent in how the money is spent. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Same question, Mr. Gavia?
I believe that the role of the Board of Trustees is to work for the best interest of the community. And in doing so, we need to be fiscally responsible with the taxpayer dollars. And a big part of this is in setting a budget each year that is responsible, also setting policies that are in line with what the community needs. So that we can make sure that the community understands and knows that the services that we offer. In addition, I think it's important to reach out to the community to find out what is it that they expect from the library. And I agree that as a board member, I would make it a priority to work with the staff and to go to the libraries and speak with them and find out what the issues are or concerns that they may have. That's very important, because they work for us and we all together work for the community. The good news about myself is that because my children are adults now and they live independent lives, I have the flexibility to be able to go during the day to meet with them. And I'm really looking forward to it. If the voters choose me to be the Board of Trustees, I will be very happy to make the library a better place. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Bakerstein?
Sure. So there are two main functions of trustees when it really gets down to it, and that's reviewing the budget and reviewing the director. And by reviewing the director, you're reviewing the goals of the library. So these are really the two main functions that the board needs to focus on. To prepare for these things, there's actually mandated training that all trustees need to go through. I've been through this training for a few years now. That really emphasizes that point that trustees aren't supposed to be really involved in the day-to-day of the library. The staff really needs to be left on their own to do their own work. Trustees are really playing the long game. Trustees plant the seeds, the staff waters the seeds, and the community is what gets the fruit. So it's really about giving the library the direction it needs, giving the director and giving the administration the direction they need, but allowing the staff to have the goals flourish themselves. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Sarvis.
Yeah, so I feel that as a trustee member, that we are an advocate for the library system, not only for its members and how we spend the budget, but also for the employees and policies that are made in the library. So to prepare for becoming a library trustee, not only going to meetings without being a trustee member, you could also read the handbook for library trustees in New York. That'll give you a good, I want to say, wide view on the day-to-day trustee position. Should we watch employees? I think the director has that under control. Again, like Brianna said, it is a long-term thought, and we're more policy and budget, not the day-to-day operation of the library. And I think it's easy to see that our director is doing a fantastic job with that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Lynch.
Well, I think our number one priority is the community and how we operate the library to serve its needs and its best interests. Monitor the financial well-being of the library, the budget, and the policies, and work closely with the director. I agree that the day-to-day activities with the librarians and the other staff is not of our main concern, that we need to let them do their jobs and such, but it would be beneficial to us to interact with them just as we interact with the community to see what their experiences are with the community and what they feel they need and what their feelings are to the best interest of making the library itself a more successful operation.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Virgil?
According to the New York State Board of Regents Commissioners report, this special library system is directly accountable to the community of Smithtown Township. They're the supreme power of how we should be running the library. Trustees would set policy based on that feedback. We would give financial scrutiny to the decisions that we make. We need community feedback for that. And the educational integrity, we do have to check in with the staff to see how they're doing occasionally. Of course, it's the director's responsibility, but we would get feedback also from all of the employees as well as the community.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Steele?
Yes, one of the main trustees' primary role is to provide the highest quality of library service possible for the community. And to do this, it's by approving the budget and also reporting, well, not reporting to the director, but the director reports to us on what's going on. We also approve policy, new business, personnel matters, as well as professional development to attend conferences, et cetera. To prepare to become a trustee, I highly recommend reading the handbook for library trustees of New York State. I did read this when I ran last year, and I do refer to it. It explains explicitly what the role of a trustee can and cannot do and what their role is. And I believe it's on the Smithtown Library website. It's great to have interaction with the librarians and staff. They're wonderful people. They're very knowledgeable and helpful when you go to the library. But that's not our role. It's to tell them what to do. They report to the director. We're there to oversee, but not to interact and tell them what to do. They report to the director, and that's how that works. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Durso.
Okay, well, basically, it's going to be a little redundant. Budgeting, of course, even things like repairing the roof, which a lot of people don't bring up, people don't think of, replacing the rugs, getting new tables, all these things are going to be a concern of a trustee because it has to do with the facility itself. I don't believe in micromanaging. The librarians do their job. The director has his job. And to give you an analogy, I was very involved in sports my whole life. I still am. You have a head coach, you got assistant coaches, you got the trainer, you got the physical therapist, you got the water boy. Everybody has to work together. Everybody has to be a team player because, again, we are all working for the community. And anytime you take taxes from people, they're going to have an opinion about something. So we have to keep our eyes open, make sure that we're doing the best for the community. And in the meantime, trustees, the director, librarians, staff, personnel, even the guy that cuts the grass, you all have to work together to make the library the best place it could be. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The next question, we're going to start with Mr. Gavia. And again, I'll read it twice if any of you need that. Discuss your philosophy on the collection development process. Should some material be banned or restricted because of individual objections? Should trustees agree with all of the content and displays in the building?
Okay, I know this is a very controversial issue. However, I would hope that the Board of Trustees would agree that if there were a book on bomb making or how to poison somebody, that we would all agree that that should be a book that we should ban, correct? And also, if there was a nonfiction book that we were to, someone would address to us that was actually not factual and maybe contained information that was dangerous to other people, then it's something we may want to consider. So the idea to say that you'll never ban any books is absolutely not true. Also, in today's day and age, anyone can be an author. Anyone can publish a book and put it on Amazon. So, if it comes to our attention from our library staff that there are certain books that may not be appropriate, as I said earlier, something that may be not factual, may have dangerous information in there, that's something that we would have to definitely address, at that time. Okay. So, but, for the most part, books, other than those books in those categories that I mentioned, should not be banned. Okay. However, we also do have to be concerned about certain books being in the right section. Okay, so like, for example, we don't want pornographic books in the children's section. I think everybody would agree with that. Thank you.
Time's up. Yeah. Okay, thank you. And thank you all for keeping an eye on the countdown clock. Okay, because we don't want to interrupt midstream for any of you. Thank you, Mr. Gavia. Ms. Bakerstein, same question.
So as I said during my opening, I am anti-censorship. And anti-censorship doesn't mean that if a material is bad, it shouldn't be included. It means that it shouldn't be not included for a political reason. So yeah, there are appropriate materials, but those, the appropriateness is determined by our collection policy. And this is why we hire who we do. Librarians have master's degrees in learning how to develop a collection, and they are the best people to determine which items belong in our collection and which don't. So I do not believe in censoring any materials for political reasons, because you may disagree with a certain community, but there is a policy for our collection, and our books do have to have certain standards to them. But that's really not the board's duty. That's the librarian's job duty to perform that and determine what can be in our collections. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Sarvis?
Yeah, so piggybacking on what Brianna just said, I agree that we have well-trained staff who deal with our collection policy, and they understand what does and does not make the cut. Should trustees always agree on books that are in the policy or where they are in our library? Maybe not, but we do have to have reason, and we have to have understanding as to why the trained did what they did. They know more than we do. They're trained for this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Abergel?
My philosophy is that, for the most part, book banning is an outdated practice because you can get information on the internet. As far as the libraries are concerned, though, we have librarians who choose the displays, and as trustees, entrusting the director to hire the librarians, we have to trust that they're making good decisions. However, we do want to make the library an inclusive place for everyone, and that includes the 12 and under crowd. When you walk into the children's section, a parent should not have to worry about a child opening up a book and seeing pornography, which is there now. Parents are the voice for this vulnerable age group. To not include parents' voice for that crowd, you're excluding the 12 and under. You're not paying attention to childhood innocence, and I think that's a dangerous path. The libraries should be listening to parents because they're the voice for the 12 and under crowd. So while I agree that displays should be left to the librarians, we need better guidelines for the children's section. There should not be pornography in there. That's it.
Thank you. Ms. Deal?
Okay, in August, the August of 22 trustee meeting, there was a very informative presentation on the process of how books are selected in the library for all departments. We have trained librarians who have their master's degree in library science. They continue to go to professional development, workshops, conferences, etc., to learn. Should books be banned? I don't believe, like Brianna, that there is censorship. All Americans have the right to read or not read what's in a library. So if parents don't want their child or children to read a book, that's their choice. Again, they don't have to take it out. There's lots of other books in the library collection that they feel are appropriate for their kid. They can take it out. But I am, like Brianna, anti-censorship, and I believe we have the freedom to read what we want to read. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Durso?
Okay, let's talk about the movies. If your child is going to the movies are rated. They're rated for a reason. They're rated so the parents know if it's PG-13 or X-rated, and we're slipping down a slope. If you look up the United States Penal Code 311.1, this is not my code, this is the United States Penal Code. It says you cannot send, facilitate the sending, or produce sexual images or recording of a minor below 18 years of age, you can't exhibit the material. So if we have books exhibiting that material, if it's not in the adult section, it shouldn't be nowhere near the teen section. And if you follow the science, which seems to be a very catchy phrase, if you look at the suicide rate, the drug overdose rate amongst young children, it's double what it was from 2008. And part of that reason, I believe, is a lot of these children are confused, okay? And it's up to the parents to determine what they want their child to read. I don't want to walk in with my grandkids and have to explain an image that's there that maybe is pornographic or however you want to relate it. And I'm not for censorship either, but movies are rated for a specific reason. And that's how I feel about it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Beal?
Censorship does not belong in the library. Secondly, everyone is welcomed in the library. We respect what people want and don't want to look at, and everyone has rights in the library. That includes children as well as parents and adults. Parents are responsible for their children. Therefore, they have to oversee what it is that their children are looking at and decide at that point whether or not they want their children to proceed in looking at that item or not. The librarians are the ones that choose the books that come into the library. That's what they are trained in, and they do an excellent job of it. And the library is a focal point for everything that the patrons want to see and learn about. But censorship does not belong in the library, and everyone makes their choices about what they look at and what they see. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So the next one is going to start with Ms. Bakerstein. And
Wait a second.
yes.
Skip me.
Oh.
I was polite. I waited.
Okay. Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. No
Okay.
problem.
Yeah. Go ahead. Ms. Lynn.
The problem with, first of all, there's no banned books. There's no banned books. Most books are available in the library. Most books are available on Amazon if you wanted to buy them. There's no banned books. The problem is that this keeps coming up, that there are banned books because there's certain books that have been challenged lately. Now, we've had books challenged in the past. We've had Catcher on the Rye and The Color Purple and all those classic books. But if you look at the American Library Association's top 10 of the most challenged books today, most of them are sexually explicit, and most of them are geared towards teenagers. They're not regular romance novels. They are literally targeted to teenagers. And then the library itself, the Smithtown Library itself, along with other libraries throughout the nation, have had Banned Books Week. Now, it would be okay if it was Banned Books Week and we were talking about The Grapes of Wrath, but we're not. We're talking about the recent books that the parents are concerned about because they're raunchier than a romance novel, and they're specifically towards teenagers. In fact, the Banned Books Week seminar that they had at the library was only for teenagers. They submitted what book they wanted to evaluate. I'm sorry, my time is up. What they wanted to evaluate, and then it was strictly for teenagers. So my point was, if it was classic books that we were looking at, then it would be for all ages.
Okay, thank you, and apologies for skipping you over. I thought I had a foolproof system, but
it's okay.
It happens. So the next question will start with Ms. Bakerstein, and that is, Libraries are looked on as the source of information and reference material for a community. What should the library's role be in combating misinformation in a polarized world?
Yeah, so that's a question I think that still gets debated, and I don't know if there's a perfect answer, but libraries definitely are a great place, a source of information. Nowadays we can Google anything, obviously, but that doesn't mean all the information that's on the front page of Google is correct or is completely thorough. That is why books and access to books, whether it's digital or physical, is so important, because when you look in a book for something, you're going to find more qualitative information. And in order to make sure this information meets certain standards, that's where the librarians come in deciding which books. Yeah, so like I said, in the digital age, we can get basically any information we want, but the library directs you in the way of more qualitative information. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Sarvis?
Yes, so dealing with misinformation, we have one of the best trained library staffs, definitely on this island, and they're going to steer a student or learner towards the correct references, no Wikipedia and user-made information. Again, this is qualitative information that our trained staff can point a learner toward what they're looking for and with the correct information available. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Lynch, now it's your turn. You're muted.
Yeah, if I could get the unmute. Sorry, my computer. There can be a lot of misinformation out there, and it would be very hard to catch it all, for sure. That's why it would be imperative for the community to reach out and let us know if there's something that they think needs some kind of reevaluation or whatever. Nobody can catch these things all the time, and science is subjective. So even if something is true in the past, it might not be so true today. So it would be, this is where the community can come in, and we could have like a discussion about what might be considered misinformation, maybe harmful material, especially if it's simplified, and things that are actually beneficial.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Virgil.
This is where the trustees would entrust the librarians to do the best of their ability to keep out misinformation. If there is an issue that needs looking into, I'm sure the board will look into that more. But as far as keeping misinformation out, that is, the library is full of information. You can keep searching until you find what you think is the correct information. But that is the role of the librarians. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Deal?
Yes, our libraries have great information and reference materials in them. There's a lot of misinformation, in the news and everywhere. So I guess one of the ways we can combat that is going back to our mission statement, or I should say the Smithtown Library's mission statement, and having access to diverse information and materials within our library to help combat misinformation. By having the information available to everybody and having diverse information is a way to possibly, correct misinformation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Darso.
Okay, I think everybody will understand what I'm going to say. Years ago, somebody mentioned the encyclopedias. You looked up information and it was there in black and white. Today, with the digital age and computers, it's very hard to know what is true and what is not. You have to depend on your source. And I'll use COVID for a perfect example. The vaccine is good, the vaccine is not good. It prevents illness, it doesn't. So you get all these mixed messages. The only thing I could say is you have to check your sources and double check them and research it yourself. Sometimes you're going to have to go to an epidemiology book yourself and look up what happens with viruses when they're, interacting with different people. So it's a very difficult chore. But if we work together, we should get through it.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Beal?
Misinformation should be handled in the way that the library has handled it in the last couple of years. That was through the meetings that the library board held, where many people showed up to voice their opinions, and the library director listened to the library trustees listened to the community and voiced their opinions, and misunderstandings were starting to be eliminated at that time. Also, the newsletter that the library puts out, information there can also take away or correct misunderstandings, and meetings at the library, as the library did within the last couple of years. So again, the approaches that the Smithtown Library took during critical points over the last 2 years is the way that they handle misunderstandings. And they did an excellent job in doing that. And hopefully the misunderstandings were corrected. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gavia?
All right, misinformation is a new term that came up during the COVID lockdowns. And, that's very concerning to me because it's really code word for censorship. So this is similar to your previous question about banning books. I don't know if it's our position to decide what information is misinformation and what is the true information out there. Because there are various opinions on various topics. For example, with the vaccine, there were different opinions about whether it was effective or not, whether you needed to get it, if there were alternative medicines and so on. So I don't know if that's something that we should really discuss, but we will work together, should I get elected, with our directors and librarians, because they know best, because, as previous candidates had mentioned, they have been trained and they're qualified in understanding the materials that we get, okay? One thing I want to add, though, is that when we talked about misinformation, I had posted a picture of one of the pages of a book that was in the children's section, and I got banned for 24 hours on Facebook because that was misinformation according to Facebook. So if adults weren't able to read it on Facebook for 24 hours, then we shouldn't allow the misinformation of certain books to be in the children's section either. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. The next question will start with Mr. Sarvis. Yeah. Communities on Long Island and throughout the country are growing and changing. There have always been waves of newcomers who may have varying interests and experiences and lifestyles. Should and how might libraries better appeal to these newer communities they're now serving? And if you want, I'll repeat it if you need to.
No, I'm okay.
Good, thank you.
I think currently here in Smithtown, we're already doing that. Progressing in the 21st century, more technology driven, shorter attention spans. We have a vast amount of programs available that are dealing with more than just books, right? We have sing-alongs, we have movie nights at the library. We have a library of things where we can borrow everything from an acoustic guitar to a Sony PlayStation. So we're appealing to more than just the average reader. The Learning Lab is getting more and more people in there trying new things like the 3D printer and the Cricut machine. So as the library is progressing, so is our collection. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Lynch?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Sure, sure. Communities on Long Island and throughout the country are growing and changing. There have always been waves of newcomers who may have varying interests and experiences and lifestyles. Should and how might libraries better appeal to these newer communities they serve?
Okay. Yeah, maybe I guess you're referring more to like the younger generation, which thinks that like everything is on their phone, and maybe the library really isn't for them. And that's why I would like to make more awareness to the other programs that they have. They don't understand this new generation. They don't understand the benefit of community. They're social in school and stuff, but really, understanding like who you live with and interacting with other people. A lot of these children, they don't know how to public speak as well. And just being able to interact with their community and maybe try something new like a 3D printer, or take out something else from like the library of things and stuff. They have like video games and all kinds of like other crafting type of things that they could try out. There's also, I really like that you guys have the comic book club thing every year. I think that's wonderful. My daughter was a cosplayer and she met all kinds of great people at the conventions. And I used to work comic conventions, so it was kind of like passing the torch. But those are great because they really bond together with what they're reading in the manga, and all the different costumes that they try on and play out with and stuff. Maybe they don't understand the benefit of that, but we do.
Thank you. Okay. Ms. Virgil?
Yeah, we have a diverse community as it is. More people coming in. I think our library covers a lot of needs of newcomers. The defensive driving. We have Long Island history. It's good to know about the place you live. We have a good collection for them. But we could add things like cultural dance, language classes that integrate newcomers better into the community. They can teach about their culture to the current community.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Steele?
Yes, I think our library staff are doing a great job keeping up with the changing times in the Smithtown Library by creating programs, having more technology, adding the 3D printer, as well as the Cricut machine, and some of the other innovations that are going on in the library. There's programs for all ages, from, young babies, children, teens, adults, even, our seniors. And, with technology changing, there's always changing needs for the community, to teach the community on data privacy and security with all the scams that are going on. You hear about it all the time in the news. And it's just, like I said, I think our library staff does a wonderful job on keeping, their hands on the pulse and knowing what's going on in this community and what some of our needs are. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Durso?
Well, I think all the libraries are doing a great job looking at all their programs that they have. Outside of a language difference, in other words, you go to Greenpoint, and you have a large Polish population, well, the library there should have more programs geared to those people. If you have a large Hispanic group, you should have a little more programs for those type of people so they feel at home. Me personally, I would like to see, when, as you say, the society is changing, and again, I'm going to stick to the science. Obesity, drug abuse, and alcoholics abuse and suicide for our children has skyrocketed. And I think it would be a great opportunity for the library to try to build up a little more of those programs where we can hopefully help save some of these people, because that is the changing population. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Stabile?
I have to concur with what Barbara and Brianna was saying about the fact that our staff does a wonderful job in keeping in knowing what the community is looking for, especially newer communities, and finding out what it is that they are looking for in the library. Of course, it is up to the librarian, his or herself, to have that come into a reality for the different communities and for what's going on in our society, so that we can stay informed and present information in a way that is pleasing to them as well as informative. And again, much credit to the library staff for doing that and for keeping in touch with the changes in Smithtown.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Gavia?
Well, one of the concerns that I have with the ever-changing technology is that people have become more antisocial than ever before. And with new groups coming in, I think it would be a wonderful idea to expand what the library already offers, more classes, more events, maybe dancing and different instructions on that, and different cultural classes, and maybe different events where the community can get together. It's so wonderful, for example, during the summer months when there were concerts at the library and the community gets together to listen to really nice music. That benefits everybody. So if there are new groups that are coming in, maybe they have different influences, maybe they have different styles of music, different styles of dance. It might not be a bad idea to get feedback from some of these groups and find out what type of events they may be interested in hosting, and the entire community would benefit from what new people, new members coming in can offer. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Ms. Bakerstein?
So to appeal to newcomers, one thing we do offer in our services is for our vulnerable populations. What the library can do is offer services and programs and then see what sticks. So to do that, we need to see the statistics of what programs are being attended. A good example from this year and last year is our Crafts for All Abilities programs, as well as our sensory movie time programs. These were programs that were started and we weren't sure how they would do, but now they're succeeding. And these are programs for people with sensories or other types of issues. And we found out that they actually do really well. So our statistics go to New York State. So this is really what we need to be focusing on in order to appeal to newcomers that may come in to see these programs that do well. And we need to put funding towards these programs that are already doing well to make sure our statistics are where they need to be for the year. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. It is just about 8 o'clock, so we're going to have time for one more question, and then we'll do the 2-minute closings. And unfortunately, I have more than one question. Could go on for another 2 hours, perhaps. But let's just take the last question I have right now. And this will start with Ms. Lynch. Libraries and librarians in many parts of the US have faced censorship and personal threats because of materials on the shelves. Do the trustees have an obligation to continue to provide public access to a wide range of materials without discrimination? Or should the trustees overrule library professionals? Do you want me to read it again?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
not
no, that's
following.
okay. It's, when there's an intro in the question, it's kind of to set the stage.
Okay.
Libraries and librarians in many parts of the US have faced censorship and personal threats because of the materials on the shelves. Do the trustees have an obligation to continue to provide public access to a wide range of materials without discrimination, or should the trustees overrule library professionals? So it's that balancing
So
act.
you're saying that the library professionals have encountered censorship? That
Yeah,
they're-
they're apparently not in Smithtown, but there are parts of the country where there actually can be legislation, and the librarian or the school librarian can be personally blamed, prosecuted for not having gone through every book and checked against lists.
Well, that's pretty unfair, isn't it? Because there's millions upon
I'm-
millions of books.
I'm reading.
No, yeah, that would be
Yeah.
wrong for sure. The library staff is trained to take on the responsibility of obtaining books, and it's a big job. I think we've dealt with more of the opposite problem, where some of the community has been asking for certain kinds of books, and they've gotten a little bit of stubbornness as far as being able to bring them into the library. There's been some children's books by different authors that are from companies like Brave Books that deal with they're not even they're just regular library books, just regular children's books, but they because they come from more conservative, from a more conservative nature, they haven't been brought into the library. It's more of a ghosting, if you will. There's certain conservative writers that are on other news channels and stuff that have been left out of the collections, and I just want a more well-rounded representation of what we have.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thanks.
All right, Miss Virgil? Evergel?
I agree with what Joanne is saying, but if the librarian does face personal attacks, should they override the law? If I understood that correctly.
The question, and we'll give you a couple extra seconds because I'm interrupting you. The question related to when this happens, should the trustees overrule what the librarians have been doing and change it? Or should they stick to the librarian acquisition policies and not overrule it? Because the thing is putting blame in some parts of the country on librarians, because they're still allowing books in the collection that someone somewhere along the way has said, we don't like that.
I think the supreme power comes from the community as far as the books being allowed or not allowed. They do have the final say. So in the grand scope of things, and if an issue is as bad as that, where they're receiving personal threats, we do have to consider what is happening, the whole situation, and also community feedback. on what it is that is causing so much trouble.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Deal.
Yes, as a trustee, we have to follow policies and procedures in the library. We're also responsible for following New York State educational laws that apply to the library. So no, I would not override this as a library trustee because that's not our role. That is the librarian's job to pick the books. And we certainly don't want another case with the Division of Human Rights against us by doing that. So my answer is a hard no. I would not vote to override something that I shouldn't be doing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Beal? Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Durso, your turn.
Okay, nobody should be discriminated against. Race, color, creed, lifestyle. But I'll give you an example of something that should be discussed, okay? And if people don't understand this, they should take an endocrinology course or go see an endocrinologist. There are books today that talk about hormone therapy for children, okay? And just think about yourself. You're walking in the parking lot at night, you see somebody that doesn't look too good coming to you. Your heart's pounding real quick, right away. Your pituitary gland sends a message, your adrenaline is flowing, and you're scared and your heart is pounding. And if you're old enough, you get a heart attack. Now, we all know this is current, where children are getting hormone replacement. It's terrible. So something like that coming through the library, I think really should be discussed. I'm not saying override, but some people should really look at certain types of content that come through. Again, no one is being discriminated against. We're talking about hormone replacement therapy for children. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Beal?
The library board definitely should not be overriding a decision of the librarians. That is their job to make those decisions about what books they choose to come into the library. They have to have an understanding, a very good understanding of what the community may be looking for in some controversial issues. And then the librarian makes the educated decision as to whether or not to order certain books or to hold back on others. But the board should not override the librarian's decisions regarding that, because that is the librarian's decision to make. And we don't have the right to override them, or we're not allowed to, or we shouldn't. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Gavia?
This tends to be a leading question, but my concern is that I'm not aware of any like real threats against the librarians. There are people that may be very vocal about the books that might be in a library, but I'm very concerned also because there's people that will say that they don't believe in banning books, but what I've seen threats against more out there are against the conservative authors of books. Those are the individuals that have threats against them. And so we don't want to ban books by no means, okay, at all. But, we have to be concerned about public safety, that if the librarians feel threatened by any individuals, the librarians should, of course, have the right to come to us because we're all part of the same team. And if there's some kind of concern, then we need to make sure that their safety is a priority. Public safety for the librarians, for the staff, for the director, for the community has to come first. Okay, that's very, very important. But this issue has become very controversial, and what we really need to do here is get the politics out of the library system. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Bakerson?
Sure. So the thing about censorship is that it's not only morally ambiguous, we could discuss for days about it, but in New York State, it's potentially illegal. The library was investigated by the New York State Division of Human Rights, and that investigation is still ongoing. We don't have a conclusion to that investigation yet. So any attempt to remove any materials that are a resource for a number of protected classes can lead to another investigation. And these types of investigations are costly and time consuming. The Smithtown Library spent money for our attorney to deal with this investigation, as well as time that the staff spent preparing for this investigation. So the fact is, whether you think materials should be censored or not, we could lose our charter from censoring materials for political reasons. Our charter specifically says that we need to remain nonpartisan. And that's why it's so important that every decision we make, we keep in mind that there's certain laws around the decisions we make, and that we can be held personally liable as trustees for all of these decisions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Sarvis.
So I have to agree that we're not going to overrule any of our librarians on the choices that they made based on our library's collection policy. There's reasons that some of these books are here and they checked off the necessary boxes to be in our collection. And we need to have an understanding of others. And even if that one book might help one person, it did its job in our collection, and that's why it's there. Our librarians understand our collection policy through and through, and there's nothing in there that doesn't meet those guidelines. Thank you.
Okay, so that closes the question part, and now what we have left are the 2-minute closing statements. And again, this is your opportunity either to add to some of the things that were brought up, bring something else up, talk about why you want the library patrons vote. And we'll do it, as I said in the beginning, in the same order that we started. So Ms. Avergel will go first, and the last statement will be from Ms. Lynch. Okay, so it'll be 2 minutes.
I believe that everybody here believes that the library should be a unifying and diverse place. But I would like to be trustee to help with the children's section, to give clear guidelines. We absolutely must consider the 12 and under crowd. Otherwise, we don't need to have a children's section. It's just no funding for a children's section. You just have one adult book depot. But that's not what we want to do, obviously. We just need clear guidelines as to what is appropriate for that crowd. The second reason is financial responsibility. I know the library approved 9 electric vehicle charging stations for 4 buildings at a cost of $560,000. I was concerned reading the board minutes that I didn't see any proposals from different companies. Did they take the first proposal that was given? I don't know. Was it a competitive bid? It's hard to say from the minutes. The library will be responsible for upkeep and utilities. How does that affect it? And what does it have to do with lifelong learning? The actual mission of the library, I don't know. So financial responsibility is definitely another reason I would like to become trustee. And finally, I'd like to bring back to basics, whole family programming. That would be a nice touch. And also, finally, we have 7 members on the board, and everything is approved 7-0. That's not a lot of diversity in thought process as to what is good for the library. So I would like to bring civil discourse back to the boardroom also. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Steele, your closing statement?
Yes, I would like to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting tonight's Meet the Candidates. I'm honored to be one of the library trustee candidates endorsed by the Smithtown Library CSE Union. It's very grateful for that. Also was honored to be appointed library trustee in February. As I said earlier, trustee's primary role is to provide the highest quality of library service possible for the community. To do this, as I said last year, I will continue to adhere to the Smithtown Library mission statement, which is dedicated to providing access to diverse information, lifelong learning, and entertainment resources through outstanding service for all residents of the library districts. And as a trustee, it's also important to adhere to all New York State education laws and regulations and federal laws that apply to the public library. We certainly don't want another investigation that is costly and will take away from programs and our staff time in the library. Just to quote from the handbook for library trustees on page 77, the First Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America guarantees freedom of speech, and the courts have long held this guarantee extends to the right to receive information freely. Free access to information is the cornerstone of the American Public Library. Every person has the right to read or not to read any book, to view or listen to any media. I believe a library should be a safe and inclusive place for all residents. All Smithtown residents have the right to read or not read a book that is in the library. No one has that right to take that freedom away from another member of the community.
Okay,
If you love the Smithtown Library District like me, please vote number 1, 3, 5, and 7. Thank you.
thank you. Mr. Durso.
Thank you again for the opportunity. Once again, I've been working with children for 35 years in all aspects, mostly with inner city schools, latchkey kids that have single parent. I've worked in group homes for Division for Youth. And what we've mentioned tonight was the community being represented, all the training that the people have had, guidelines from the state. You can't be too political here, can't be too political there. And I agree with all that. I agree with all that. But comic book pictures of children having sex is another story. And any parent, I don't know what community we're representing with that. I can't think of one. If somebody could think of a community that we're representing with children doing that, it hurts. It baffles my mind. I really don't understand it. And I'm a person who worked with kids, and I know all these librarians are very dedicated. All these parents are dedicated. So I really don't understand this one particular issue. That's the issue I don't understand. We call them graphic novels. They're geared towards children. They look like comic books. So anyway, I just hope, I'm a team player. If I win, I will work with the people that I work with. And as the Rolling Stones say, you can't always get what you want, but there has to be consensus somewhere. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Beal?
I would like to be a library board trustee once again so that I can continue my work as being a public servant. I have been involved with a number of the committees that are on that are assigned to the different library trustees, and I must give a warm welcome and much needed praise to the friends of the library who service and support our library in a number of many financial ways. And we owe a great debt to them because they support the library 150%. So again, I would like to continue my work with serving the library as a trustee. I have served on a number of the boards, including the finance, the Friends of the Library, and just want to continue to serve and to be in unison with the other members of the library board. we work together very well, and it's something that I would like to see continued. Thank you so much for your time, and a special thanks to the League of Women Voters for having this opportunity this evening to express our opinions and to support our decision to be a library board trustee.
Thank you. Mr. Gavia.
This is what is in Gender Queer, a book that's in the child section in the library that shows a sexual act. This is what I tried to post on Facebook and got banned for 24 hours. So if Facebook banned me and it's pornography, that should not be in the children's section. So all we're asking is don't put pornography in the children's section in the library. And $14,000 to defend yourself is a drop in the bucket compared to the $550,000 budget that was approved for having electric vehicle charging stations throughout the library. $550,000 for a very small percentage of people that have electric cars. I don't even see the educational value in that and how that is something that the library should offer. So if you vote for me, I am looking to help and provide services for the entire community, also to be fiscally responsible with the taxpayer dollars, and they should know how their money is being spent properly. And last but not least, okay, I don't agree with censorship, but we need to protect the children, and we don't want to sexualize the children, because these books like Gender Queer, 5-year-olds should not even have to know what sex is about. That is totally inappropriate to be put in there. Put those books in a different section, in the adult section. And yes, we do love our librarians. We love our director. They do a great job, but we also need to listen to our community. And it was inappropriate for the current board to have an emergency meeting where they did not allow the community to make public comments because they wanted to just push an agenda through. So please, on October 10th, vote 2468. Who do you appreciate? And we will correct the wrong. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Baker-Stein?
Thank you again to the League of Women Voters, as well as the library, for helping facilitate this. So I'm going to say again what I said earlier. Trustees really play the long game. Trustees plant a seed, the staff waters it, and community members gather the fruits of it. Trustees aren't the keepers of childhood innocence. They're not your education. Libraries provide resources, and parents can choose which resources they want. As I said, censorship is not only morally ambiguous, it's potentially illegal, it's costly, and it's time consuming for our taxpayers. The library wasted taxpayer time and money after being investigated by New York State, and the library is still healing from the reverb of the motion to remove pride displays. To pretend it's bygone is disingenuous to our community, and it's ignorant of the board members and the discussions that we still have during board meetings today. Smithtown doesn't need our library policies and procedures fueled by nonsensical hot button issues. Instead of emotionally charged misinformation, we need reason. We need law. In fact, we're obligated to the law, and we can lose our charter without it. I'm running for a third term because I'm scared for the library. I'm scared we'll lose our charter, and we could lose our funding due to trustees choosing to focus on political agendas. We don't need taxpayers to fund trustees' personal or political agendas against specific books and or communities. Another civil rights case is not what the community needs. We need resources for drug use, resources for suicide prevention. We need outlets for children's, but we don't need more censorship, and we don't need more investigations. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sarvis?
So in Smithtown, I'm a husband, I'm a father, a neighbor, and a friend. So I have a dedication to this community to run for the first time for library trustee. I'm here to be an advocate for this library. It's a pillar of our community. I'm here for the members of the library. I'm here for the employees of the library. It's very important that we're here for both. We need to look out for the sustainability of this library to keep it the pillar that it is in this community. We cannot lose this charter. There's human rights issues at stake, and we need to keep the library a safe place for all. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Lynch.
I would like to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting tonight's event. I'll get right to the point. You keep talking about planting a seed, but you planted the seed right in front of the children's section, right at the door. And we weren't concerned that they were necessarily a pride display. We were concerned that there was drawings of naked pictures of children. And if you want to talk about the law, there's a federal law that talks about child pornography, and it just kind of skirts like in between the law because they're actual drawings of pictures and not actual pictures of naked children. You could have just moved this display to another section of the library, but instead you let people bully you into putting it back where it was in the children's section, right at the front door where you couldn't ignore it. If you just put it like in another section, we wouldn't be complaining. But that's what it was. So we need better understanding of the community. We need better operations so that we do this in a more better manner. The library is so much better than this. The staff is so much better than this. And again, when you're talking about censorship, that's another thing, because your policies, you're changing the language. I went to a meeting and you changed the word adult wherever it was to person. I don't know what the meaning behind that was, but that is censorship. So you say you're against all these things, but then your policies are very polarized and political. So I'm trying to be at least the voice of reason, like at least to try to find a middle ground so that we could all work together, so that we could all grow and become one in unity.
Okay. Thank you. And I just have a shorter than the opening statement, a closing statement for you all. Thank you. This ends our Meet the Candidates event. Thanks to our timers and the library's technology staff for facilitating the virtual event. The library's mission statement reads, "The Smithtown Special Library District is dedicated to providing access to diverse information, lifelong learning, and entertainment resources through outstanding service for all residents of the library district via multiple facilities consisting of 4 library buildings located in Smithtown, Commack, Kings Park, and Wisconsin. On behalf of the Smithtown community, we thank you all for offering your service if you're elected as a trustee. You'll be taking on a significant responsibility, which is unpaid, but brings with it a need for a deep passion for libraries, an openness to listen to community concerns, respect for all our patrons and neighbors, and a willingness to continue to educate yourself so that you best reflect the Smithtown Library's mission. To all who have viewed this candidate event, everything you need to know about the Smithtown Special Library District budget vote and trustee election is on the SmithLib, SMITHLIB.org website's voter information link. You may also call the library at 631-360-2480. Use the website to review the absentee ballot rules and process, the hours of voting in person, which is 9:30 to 9 p.m., which library branch you're assigned to, and please read the candidate bios and budget details. Again, thank you to the candidates. Thank you for the support of the library technically, and we wish you all a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And have a good night.
Good night.